What's happening, everybody? This is Hayden Adams with A Designer Who Codes. In this project, I want to build a login box that's both responsive, so it sits in the middle of the page, grows and shrinks with padding, and we can click and enter our email address, our password, remember me, and click login if this was a working login button in React/Gatsby. And we're taking it from the very top, from here to here right now. All right, so I'm using Gatsby, a form of React, and I've installed a couple plugins via Gatsby to bring in this background image via both the Gatsby plugin image and also the GB image bridge. I've got videos on how to use both of these along with the ultimate Gatsby starter if you want to use this in your project as well. In addition, I have the class name masthead and color overlay. What these two do is inside my custom CSS, the masthead just pushes us down to 100 vertical height, so we can put the form in the middle of the page, and the color overlay is just to adjust the darkness or lightness of the background color. I have it at 20%, but you can go full on 90% if that's what you're looking for and darken the heck out of this screen. I'm gonna go back to 20% for this project, so I'll say 0.2 and bring back this background image with a little 20% black overlay. In this index, I have to first move the form to the middle of the page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use inside of Bootstrap/React Bootstrap, it comes with Flex built in. Inside this div class name color overlay, I'm going to add deflex, and then I'm going to say justify content center, and then align items center. This is going to center both the x-axis for justify content center and then adjust it on the y-axis because I added a 100 vertical height. If I save this, it's a little hard to see at first, but that word test shows up. Let's actually build a white box around the word test. We can build our form with that design. Since we're going to use the form tag, I'm going to go into the custom CSS, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a background color of white and also add a box shadow for a bit of design technique. I'm going to say form, and I'll open and close my CSS, and I'll say background color white, and then I'll say box shadow. We'll say 5px, 5px, 5px. This is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, and this is how far it spreads out. And I'll add the RGBA, and we'll keep with that 20% rule. So I'll say 0. Perfect, actually it's already saved in there. Excellent. Now that we have that in place, when I save this, nothing's going to happen yet, but I'll put inside the index.js. Now, if you notice in the custom CSS, I did use a lowercase form. However, in the index.js, I'm using uppercase form using React Bootstrap. I'm going to come up here to the top, and I'm going to say import, open and close the curly brackets. I type 3 spaces. I'm going to put the words in here, and I'll say from, and then React Bootstrap. From here, I'm going to add the form tag via the capital form with React Bootstrap. I'll save this just to make sure it's in the right spot. And what I'll do is I'm going to say capital form test. And what's going to happen is that form will catch the lowercase form right here for this tag and put the word test in white with the word test in black text still. After this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to round this form. So I'll say form class name equals rounded, because we can use the benefit of both React Bootstrap, which is capital form, and then good old fashioned classic Bootstrap 5 for the word rounded. I'm also going to add some padding to this design, and in Bootstrap 5, the mobile comes first. So P or padding 4 adds an additional amount of padding around all sides, but on the desktop and tablet, I don't need as much. So I'm going to say P-SM3 for a little less padding. What's going to happen is when I go to a mobile size, it's going to add a little bit more just so I have room to breathe inside this box on a mobile design. Let's come back here. After this area, I want to add some field at the very top. Let's add the email address. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say capital form.group, and in here I'll say class name to give it some padding. And I'll say, actually, I'm going to give margin, not padding. MB for margin bottom and 3. Now I have to add a control ID. So I'm going to say control ID equals form basic email right here. After that, I'm going to open and close the form group. I'll add form dash or dot label. Talking and typing two different things all of a sudden. The form label, we're just going to call it email address. Now when I save it, I get the email address in the form with some margin below. After the form label, I'm going to add a form control or form dot control, and the type is going to be email. And just for readability, I'm going to drop this down. I'll say placeholder equals enter email. That way someone knows to type in this area an email address. Now the form control self closes, so I'm going to put a slash, and if I type the right key, we'll close it up. And I have email address and enter email. In this area below, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to add a form dot text. In this area, we'll say class name equals muted, or text muted rather. And we'll say, will never share your email with anyone else. This does two things. One, it reassures the user they're not going to share their email address, but two, it also creates the space inside the login form using the flex area to expand out to as far as it needs to go to. A great way to expand out naturally on this login form. Now that we have the email area put into place, let's go ahead and add the password. So what I'm going to do next is after the form group, I'm going to put a little extra space so I can separate the two. I'm going to say form dot group, and in here we'll add a class name equal to margin bottom 3, and we'll say control ID equals form basic password. And if after this, what I'm going to do is I'll open and close the form group, and we'll add the form label. And there it is. And we're going to say, of course, password. And after the form label, I'm going to add the form control. Drop it in. Form control, the type is going to be password. So it turns the text to a nondescript information. And we'll also say placeholder equals password. Now it's up to you if you want to put the placeholders or not. I just want to give you an option using this form of design. We'll say slash, drop it in, and now I have email address and password. Looking pretty good. After this, what I want to do is I have to create a checkbox that says remember me. So in future, if you build your design, you can then have it where you have to come right back, remember the information using cache, and all is good. So after this area, what I'm going to do is we'll say form.group. There we go. And after form.group, we're going to do the class name. You guessed it, margin bottom 3. And after this, we'll say control ID equals form basic checkbox. Open and close the form group. And from here, we're going to add a form dot check, and the type is going to be a checkbox, and we'll label it as remember me. And this can open and close on its own again. There we go. And when I save it, we have our great little login. We have our email address, we have our password, and we have remember me. The great part about this is especially about React Bootstrap, is that label, the whole text of remember me is checkable. So I don't have to worry about clicking, especially on this little box. I can click anywhere in remember me and it works. Great little usability technique built into React Bootstrap. And the last part is we have to add that button at the very bottom. So what I'm going to do is after the form group, we're going to say button. Now this won't work by default because I didn't put it at the very top. So I have to come back up here, and one, I have no idea where Fort Awesome came from. I'm going to get rid of that. And in this section, import form, I'm going to type comma button, just so the button works inside. We haven't closed our form, so hang tight. That's going to be fixed in 1 second. Yes, I left the button open. That's something I should not have done. Let's just take this piece out, make sure it works again. We're all set to go. Perfect. So I'm going to say button. Now it'll catch it. And the variant of the button will equal to primary. And the primary type will be submit. And we'll open and close the button and we'll say log in. Just like that, it drops the primary button into the login form. And the best part about this is that the whole piece is 100 completely responsive. Any direction it works, and it's all built in React Bootstrap. If you want more help in React Bootstrap, I have a series of videos, and I'll also link the source codes both to this file and to my ultimate Gatsby charter as well if you want everything built in plus more. As always, I'm Hayden Adams with A Designer Who Codes.